Hello, parents, and welcome to Parent Shift, a place where we speak about conscious parenting. A parent can be one of the best teachers for a child, especially when it comes to values, life decisions, behaviors, adapting in this world, coming out of crisis, and so much more. The parent, in fact, is also a dedicated coach and mentor that a child can have. However, for many of us, we are not able to develop our relationship to that extent with the child because we approach children with our narratives, our values, outdated explanations which we experienced in our life to help solve their fears, frustrations, and dilemmas. And those then don't appeal to our children, so they don't take our advice. In fact, our children can have a whole range of fears, anything from the fear of darkness to exams to success, all the way to the other side, which is fears of relationships, fears of dealing with complex situations. Our children can have almost all sorts of frustrations, from the way they look to the way they are to their voice, all the way to the complex side of the frustration of managing difficult people in their life or navigating through difficult life choices, etc. Or they could have significant dilemmas, anything from simple choices of this food or that, to this play, to that hobby, all the way to complex ones, to whether to stay in a relationship or to get out of it, or to choose this kind of investment or career choice, all the way to complex situations of ending things, ending situations, relationship, jobs, and coming out. In all of these situations, our narratives may not help. Here are 10 questions which you can use with most children, and ideally anything upwards of a talking age. So anything from 4 or 5 years upwards, all the way into late adulthood, you could use these questions to talk to your children and be great coaches and mentors. So if you find your child stuck up, or find your child stuck and challenged in a certain situation, any fear, frustration, or dilemma, ask them very clearly, can you tell me what you are most worried or scared about right now? And that helps them open up, address that fear, that emotion which they are experiencing at that point in time, what led to it, what contributed to it, what started it off. Now, you'll have to choose the timing of this question. Make sure that you and your child have undivided attention on the subject and uninterrupted time when you're doing this. Make sure this is not when the child has just come in or going out from school or from play or something else, or you are not rushing out for office, or, basically choose that moment at which you will break this question. Also, don't ask this question if the child is emotionally very strung. At that point in time, maybe comforting the child is going to really help. But once the child is a little settled and once both of you have time and privacy, ask this question. Can you tell me what you are most worried of or scared about right now? Write it down. Write it down so that you can make sense of their world. If you need them to explain something, ask them to go deeper. Tell you more about that. Now, whether this is a friend or a relationship, or somebody is bullying them, or it's an exam or a subject or parts of a certain subject, or it's an upcoming board exams or competitive exam, anything, write it down so that you can make more sense of it, and write down everything that they say as much as possible while comforting them. The second question you would like to ask here in that sequence is, what makes you feel this way? Was it something that happened or something that you are imagining might happen? In their description, they might have already answered this question, so you might not need to ask this question. But if they have not hinted upon why they have that fear, do ask this question. So I'm leaving that clause with you to smartly to use or not use this question. But if you do get around to using this question, you are really asking them, what is the realistic evidence of what they are experiencing? Or is it something imaginary or fictitious? Like when they have fear of a relationship breaking or being alone, or the fear of something like a ghost or a darkness, or fear of taking their bicycle or their bike onto a main road, or fear of traveling alone. It could be very imaginary fears, or maybe there is actually something that happened which made them feel threatened in a situation like this. Either way, which way, you will have to have that evidence to understand what's the origin of that fear. Bear with them as they tell their story. Again, this question could create an emotional outburst or a precipitation at that stage. If that happens, stay calm, comfort your child. The comforting is more important than the storytelling itself that your child has to do. Come back to this question, relax, ask them. It may take a few times, especially if the emotional charge of their fear or something is very critical, like if they have been bullied, or if somebody harassed them, or something happened, or a social embarrassment happened with their teacher or with a relationship. It may take them time to open up and speak up. Prevail, and you shall know. And then comes an important question. What do you believe about yourself or outcomes when you feel this way? And that then will help you understand the complex linkage that they are making. And usually children and smaller children have a different way of making those linkages. Adolescents have different way of making their linkages. Slightly elder adults in their 18 to 22 age group have different ways of making these connections. Each one of them will tell you how they are tied down by that fear. Maybe they are feeling that they are weak. Maybe they are feeling that they will be hurt very badly. Maybe the feeling of that hurt which they think might happen to them makes them feel very scared and feel very weak. How will I cope with that? Or maybe they're saying, what will mama, papa feel if I go through this, or if I do this, or if I feel like this? What will teachers say? What will friends say? So there is something that they are connecting, and they're making that whole enmeshed story. If this happens, this happens. If this happens, this will happen. So if I am not good, maybe mama, papa won't love me. Maybe if they don't love me, they will leave me. If they leave me, where will I go? If I don't know where I will go, what will happen to me? Or if my teachers don't like me, they might throw me out of class. If I get thrown out of the class, principal might notice. If principal notices, they will punish me even more. She or she will punish me even more and call my parents. If my parents get called, then blah, 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 blah. Or if this happens, my friends won't like me anymore. If my friends don't like me anymore, then this happens. If that does happens, this happens. So their mind could have just gone into that complete spiral without really giving them a chance to control that feeling and being realistic. And this is where you understand how deeply imaginative their narratives could have become. And this will also tell you how much your child thinks it's in trouble, or it's in a problem, or it's in a complexity with which it can deal with. So be very patient with this question, and be very clear that you have got the answer completely of what they believe about themselves and outcomes when they feel this way. Now, maybe it's time to take a pause. And if you've done this in a straight conversation, take a break, get them some snack, talk to them, relax, before you go to the next question, because this one is about challenging their thinking. Before you go to question number 4, take a break, relax, don't directly challenge, because you don't want to lose your child. Because sometimes a child who's emotionally strung, who's telling you their story, telling you their reality, can get very defensive if you challenge that thinking. Because for them, you might be the only solace to go to, and suddenly when you challenge them, it might come across as if you don't believe what they are saying, or you don't believe what they are experiencing. So it's very important before question number 4 that you reset yourself and you give that comfort to your child, and you don't end up alienating the child. So question number 4 for you is, how true do you think that belief really is? Can you think of times you have proved it wrong? Now, this will take you patience to work with the child, because you need the child to reflect. And in an emotionally strung state, many times they cannot reflect. So maybe you want them to close their eyes, think of a happy place, recall happy memories, and then bring up emotion and evidence from their life. Be gentle with this question, stay with them. Maybe you need to recall certain moments of their life when they did something. Don't be fictitious. Don't say to them something that they did not do, thinking that maybe I can pass it off as a memory that you don't remember. Don't do that. Be realistic. So either help them get to a story or you draw the story out. And once you've done that, once you hear what they have to say, again, keep writing all these things because it might help you and them later on. Come to the fifth question. What benefit do you get by holding on to this thought or fear? And this might get your child to go silent, because in their world, linking one thing to a benefit might not be the way they think. They're doing that subconsciously, but they may not realize it. And that's where, avoiding embarrassment, avoiding punishment, avoiding isolation, there could be a lot of things that the child might be linking to. Be gentle with them, work with them to help them make that linkage of what are the benefits that they are deriving. And that benefit usually is about something comforting, some safety that they are choosing. You have to help them choose that feeling, that comfort, that safety through an alternate way, which might be something that only an adult can help them create. And that's where you're going with this. So stay with them, help them reveal what are their safety needs. Maybe they need to be liked by their friends. Maybe they want appreciation from their teachers. Maybe they want to feel comfortable. Maybe they don't want to feel anxious. Maybe they want you around them a lot more than you are there at this point in time. So all of these are the things that you could work with them to reveal. Understand their safety needs, understand their social needs, understand their life needs. That's where you want to go with this. Once you have done this, and again done this gently, and this part of the conversation also may take a long time because, like I said, they may not realize what they're doing subconsciously. So to bring that to their conscious memory will take time. Stay with this and go to the next question. Who else benefits when you keep believing this about yourself? And that's where you ask them that, is your fear, is your frustration, is your dilemma helping somebody else? Are your teachers benefiting from this? Are your friends benefiting from this? Are your parents benefiting from this? So this also helps you realize, are they acting under some external pressure, or are they simply just cooking up a story in their mind? Now, it could happen that they have an external pressure, like my other friends also feel like this. So when their friends also feeling this negative feeling and they are also feeling this, so means they are the part of a negative feeling gang. Or, they say, I cry because I have seen my best friend cry. So which then means that I and my best friend have to share this behavior. So you're again trying to identify with someone close to you. Or you say, I heard you say this, so I got scared. So then they might be trying to validate something that you said as a parent. And because of what you said, they are going into that fear circle. So whatever it is, you have to extract what is that external dependency and work towards resolving that for them. For which, then you say, whose approval or what results are you waiting for before you believe in yourself? It's a slightly adult question, but this is also where you start getting your child to think and understand and realize how they have to cope with life. For a younger child, you may have to explain some bits of this, but for a slightly older child, you'll have to work with them. Now, one more thing I want you to remember, that by the time you get to question number 6 and 7, the questions are getting slightly complex for most children. You'll have to learn to explain the question, give them examples, and help them get to an answer without priming them too much without your thought process. So you have to be helpful without being directive and without really convoluting their response with your point of views. So be cautious, take it easy, don't try to get through all of this in one stance. So go back to that question and ask them, help them identify any external traps. Like they say, I would like my teacher's support, I would like your support, I would like my brother or sister to support, I would like my friend's support. So many of the times they are putting a rider for which none of it may come out. So they may not get a lot of external validation. Now you might be able to support them. That doesn't mean that their teachers, friends, etc. would. But if in case they do, you might be able to talk to some of them. If they are willing, if they're not willing, you'll have to have the child cope with this by giving them coping mechanisms. So that was question 7 for you. Once you're finished working with that question, it might again take some time to bring their focus back. You can ask this question: how has this belief or fear stopped you from enjoying life, trying new things, or being yourself? And this is where we start creating motivation for our child. This is where we show the child that it might not be doing a lot of things and missing out on a lot of things which other children are. So sometimes a little bit of positive comparison helps your child, and this is one of those places where you're asking the child to compare itself with other children and seeing how they are missing out on things. Remember, with children, if you ask things positively, peer pressure can actually work in a very good way. Don't be negative, don't be condescending towards your child. Ask this kind of a reflective question where the child compares himself or herself with our friends who are doing better than them. Sometimes that can actually create good motivation for them. Once you've done this, once you've had that conversation, and again, 8 is a good conversation that you need to have, ask this question: if you could think and act from your best values, energy, or thought, like honesty, kindness, courage, making effort, excellence, etc., what would you try to do differently next time? Now here there is a question of values that's coming in. So you might have to explain these words, and it's also a good opportunity for you to teach your child that if it needs to decide things in life, if it needs to be a good decision maker, it needs good values. Like, if excellence is a value that the child focuses on, then here are the behaviors. If honesty is the value, then here are the behaviors. So that kind of a conversation might be required. So question 9 might not just be a question, it might be an exercise in itself that you do, because your child may be having that fear, frustration, or dilemma because it really doesn't have a value anchoring its behavior. So look at question 9 as a question or as an exercise. Either way, help your child make choices of values in life, values that it can live by, and then work with those behaviors so that then the child's choices has a foundation. Values give us foundation. Values unite our thinking. Values clarify our thinking. Values make us future ready. That's what values do. Stay with this, and this again might take you some time to work out with your child. And then comes the time for the child to make a commitment. And the 10th question: how can we remind ourselves every day that mistakes, struggles, and fears are stepping stones and not stop signs? And then again, you can explain to the child that when you make changes, you will fail, you will have obstacles. How will you overcome those? How will you make sure that you achieve consistency? This is a question where you are not only reassuring your child, but asking the child to create compassion for itself, choose consistency for itself, and a growth mindset for itself. Work with the child to do this, and then you have a child who's now mentally ready to take action. Beyond this, what you really need to do is play a gentle, positive reminder to the child and ensure that the child has everything that it needs to work and move forward and get out of the situation that it is in. I'll say this again: you, my friends, can be the best coach and mentor and teacher for your child, whether it is life in general or if it is the child facing fears, frustration, or dilemmas. I wish you the very best in working with your child. Use these 10 questions again and again. Over a period of time, the child will learn to use these 10 questions with its own self. That's the beauty of these questions. Wish you the very best. Wish your child to become the best version of itself.